On June 14, the Cabinet approved the Agnipath Scheme, a new military rank, for the temporary recruitment of youth in the Indian Armed Forces. According to the scheme, instead of recruiting professional soldiers to serve for a full career of pensionable service, the Indian military, under a new policy called Agnipath, will now recruit them on a short-term contract basis as Agniveers. Around 45,000 to 50,000 soldiers will be recruited annually. They will be contracted for 4 years, including the training period, and will be released with no pension, health, or education benefits. After retirement, only 25% of Agniveers will be offered an opportunity to apply for permanent enrollment in the armed forces. They will be allowed to continue for another 15 years under permanent commission. The Agniveer plan may be a job creation scheme that will benefit many unemployed Indians, but it will come at a high cost in terms of negative consequences for the Indian military. Most military veterans are concerned about a short-term contracted soldier who has only been trained for 6 months. They claim that breaking in and growing in an army unit takes time, and that 4 years may be too short in the Indian context to gain that experience. Military affairs expert, Lieutenant General Vinod Bhatia, said that a pilot project should have been launched before the implementation of the scheme to assess its effectiveness. He said, a 4-year tour of duty will not match up to the Himalayan challenges. He also stated that the scheme will also lead to frustration among those who are rejected by the army and not retained in service after 4 years. Adding that, if the rehabilitation of the people who are let go after 4 years is not ensured, it could lead to social problems and law and order issues. On the other hand, the Navy and Air Force require far more technical personnel. The Navy and Air Force officers must specialize in their roles and undergo extensive training. These services will struggle to find productive ways to employ short-term contractual soldiers, putting additional strain on permanent ones, and resulting in lower operational serviceability of modern weapons and platforms. Defense Services reportedly proposed a 5-year pilot project in which only 5,000 soldiers would be inducted under this scheme to study the effects before implementation, but the government rejected that proposal. A country that faces massive threats on its borders from nuclear-armed China and Pakistan, as well as using the army in Indian-administered Kashmir and parts of the northeast, cannot afford to tamper with its national security structures without adequate planning. Why job aspirants protesting against the Agnipath scheme? Protests erupted in a number of cities against the new defense recruitment path, with aspirants raising job security and post-service benefits as top priorities. The anger is also being fueled by the 2-year freeze on army recruitment due to the pandemic. Youngsters are sharing messages on social media platforms for a boycott to the scheme. Students want the old system restored, because the previous system required troops to join for a 17-year period, which could be extended for some personnel, and resulted in a lifelong pension. Students stated that, "Where will we go after working for only 4 years? We will be homeless." They said, the government has to take back this scheme. To become a fully trained combatant, it takes 7 to 8 years. The 4-year scheme could endanger the lives of thousands of Agniveers, because this scheme will post the retained Agniveers to difficult locations where they may not be prepared. What are the pros? However, some people and the government believe that this scheme will benefit the country's youth, who cannot afford an education. The scheme provides a handsome sum of 11 to 12 lakh as a Seva Nidhi package to those who are demobilized after their service is complete. Furthermore, it will assist the Agniveers in launching their second career by providing necessary bank loans on a priority basis. According to the central government, 75% of Agniveers, who will be demobilized after 4 years of service, will be able to pursue other career opportunities. Those who want to work and have tangible skills and work experience in various fields, such as engineering, mechanics, and law and order, will be given priority in Central Armed Police Forces, Police, Assam Rifles, and Police and Allied Forces in several states. So these are the positive and negative aspects of the Agnipath scheme. However, one of the reasons that young people are drawn to armed forces jobs is the excellent pension and gratuity provisions that ensure the future of the army who serve in the armed forces. As a result, dissatisfaction and fear of unemployment have crept into the minds of young people following the announcement of the Agnipath scheme. India has one of the world's largest armed forces, with some 1.38 million personnel. Soldiers have been recruited by the Army, Navy and the Air Force separately, and typically enter service for a period of up to 17 years, for the lowest ranks. According to the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, India spent $76.6 billion on its military in 2021, the highest in the world, after the United States and China. The move by the government would bring down the armed forces' pension costs, along with salaries, form the largest chunk of the defense budget. But in the long run, it will certainly bring a lot of challenges. Because the country, which shares a heavily militarized border with Pakistan and is involved in a high-altitude Himalayan standoff with China, needed much more skilled and combat experience armed personnel. And, in the current environment, 4 years is just too short to gain that experience.